So welcome to 2021. And, the day began, like I said, it was when we had our last call, I talked about, it's like the river of 2020 has just reached the ocean. It's that moment where these two very different environments come together as one. And before flow is reached, there is a bit of a clash. Um, the ocean water doesn't fill up the river with its salinity. It remains its distinctiveness, and the river delivers its silt into the ocean, and then they come together and continue forming the waves and that's what the first was like. So yes, many of us who have been engaged in doing energetic work, we did find ourselves sleeping quite a lot. I have to say, I don't feel I required that much sleep, but the first was a time where all I wanted to do was to just sleep as much as I could. And we had our session on the fourth pearl, which was harvesting the bounty. And after that, I just spent as much time as I could in my room. And that was all a function of the energetic work that was being done through our beings, our physical bodies. And that's what caused that to occur. So here we are. Today, I'm excited to share a glimpse of 2021. So some of you have heard me mention that 2021 is a year of flowing in flow. I want to set it in the context of what occurred in 2020. There are many people that I see messages about, oh, finally we can wipe off 2020. And my thing is, anchor yourself in 2020. Anchor yourself in what you became as a result of your experience of 2020. And why do I say that? The energetics of 2020, when I first spoke about it, and there were several of you who've heard me say this at the time, I talked about 2020, the energetics that was the year where humanity, it was a rising of humanity. Rising of humanity into the next era of its emergence. 2020 was the one that if you actually managed to shed your baggage as you entered 2020, because it was a baggage-free flight, and the less baggage you had, and then if you had no baggage, 2020 energies would catapult you to, really being centered in whole and completeness within yourself. And we embarked on a series of such online gatherings to support people in practical ways through the Thursday evening sessions that I did with Catherine, so that you could navigate your way through the unknown and be able to release more and more and more of any baggage that might be there, so that you had a good opportunity to leverage the 2020 energies that were going to catapult you to stratospheric heights if you were in the right attunement vibrationally, and if you were baggage free or as less of a baggage that you were carrying, you would catapult even higher. And if you were in the other direction, you would go really deep down. And the magical thing is, I shared that all of the divine has taken over the 2020, and it's literally using anything and everything that humans are using to spread fear. It's using all of the tactics of humans to retain command and control, to actually bring about an emancipation of the humankind, so that humans could return within themselves, plugging into their innate vibe of love, releasing nature unshackling it so that nature could reclaim itself. And nature, it was necessary for nature to reclaim itself so that it could envelop each one of us in its okayness as we went through some pretty catastrophic situations as well, and balanced ourselves in those times. 2020 was a year which brought the world together, and emotionally, we all went through several times over various cycles of emotions. And the fact that the corona phenomenon continued and extended over such a length of time, and it wasn't quite clear when it was going to end, and when it looked like it had ended, something else would start again and it would get spurred up again. It really meant that humans, each individual, started recognizing themselves as the one that they can count on. Some did it very consciously with conscious awareness, and certainly many of you in the Beyond Meditation family did it consciously because you were taken on journeys. People who had done the journey into miracles did it, you were anchored in that, in your source. And there were, whether you did any of this work or not, people went through their own cycle and at least connected to their own center, finding their own joy, making some decisions and choices for themselves, realizing and recognizing that you can choose for yourself. So before I talk about 2021, it is really important for each one of you between today and Tuesday, when I will give you the next insight on 2021. I invite you to really look at what has 2020 enabled for you. Because it is that you that is going to work with the 2021 energies. I mean, somebody just did like a very flippant thing, which is pretty cool. Look at it. 2021 is 2021. WON. And it's another one of those blessings from the divine. All of the divine energies came together for 2020 to win in the context of the divine plan for our planet. Our planet made the decision that it was going to rebirth itself, and we worked together for several years, so many of us, to support the planet to make a choice of transforming itself as a part of rebirthing and not starting over. And that choice was made in 2020. That was the win. So once the planet made the choice that it was going to transform itself, then all that was needed was to take the one factor that was the biggest threat to the planet actually being able to transform itself with ease and grace. It was the human factor. And because the divine took that over, it was done in such a way that the crown phenomenon impacted humans. And the fear was already spread by humans. So, and the fear was that humans infect each other. So it basically meant that we were able to, let go of conflicts. Because there was, you couldn't go and beat anyone up. You couldn't go and scream and shout at anyone. You just had to take care of yourself. So that literally took the human attitude of fixing away from nature and all that made up this planet. So once we took away that fixing attitude of going and fixing things, but we're really focusing on ourselves, protecting ourselves, safeguarding ourselves, feeling sorry for ourselves, and then, just finding a way to recalibrate and somehow cope, and then starting to notice these rainbows and these lights and these animals that started being shared through social media. It was quite an interesting experience that was playing out in the world. But it took us away from keeping that fixing vibe attached to nature that made up this planet. So that included the air quality, the water, the trees, the environments. It gave a chance for nature, which is really the originating force, that it is the life force of this planet, to resurrect itself and reclaim itself. There was a very interesting phenomenon that also got anchored in 2020. And it was that I talked about, when 2020 began, I talked about this is a year where all the elements are going to be unleashed in their full might. And they're being unleashed in their full might so that their energies can be anchored on the planet for centuries to come, and will be utilized by humans and nature and other living beings to create a planet that is thriving in all its renditions. And the four elements were fire, air, water, and earth. So what occurred in 2020 is all of those elements, yes, they were unleashed in their full might, starting with fire, air that brought in the corona virus, which became the crown phenomenon, as I call it. Water and earth. Earth played a very beautiful role of literally just making itself available to ground out any fears, any anxieties that surfaced at a very rapid level. Because like the 2020 energies were multiplying, they added a multiplier effect of up to 100x in the second half of 2020. So the emotions and anxieties that were surfacing were literally being earthed and taken out of the orbit. And the reason why there were these extremes that were playing out, so let's just look at the fire element has got anchored on the planet. What is the fire element? What are its characteristics? A fire element destroys, and in its destruction, it transmutates the state of that which it has destroyed. So we have that characteristic available to all of us. We can use it ourselves without necessarily having to light a fire. We can bring in the fire element if there's any habits or anything at all that we wish to transmutate and get rid of within ourselves. Air blows away that which causes clutter so that you can see clearly. It brings clarity. That's what the crown phenomenon did with the air element working with it. It gave a sense of clarity to humans. Whether they took it on consciously or not, there was a sufficient critical mass of humans that did take it up, which is why the planet was able to make the choice of transforming itself and not having to start over. Water washes away the debris so that you can get into flow. Perfect preparation for the year 2021. And earth anchors and lays down the roots so that you can be strong in your trunk and expand, like each one of us has become our own tree of life. As above, as below, so above. It's our roots have really gone down quite deep. What does the earth element also do? It allowed us, It's plugged into us in such a way that at any point in time, you can literally, if you're feeling any form of trepidation or any form of anxiety or anguish or helplessness, you literally just say, I release it to the earth. You're already plugged in. You will literally, with one breath, you will be able to release it into the earth. Those elements are available to us to consciously use. Now, the exciting thing is these elemental energies became available to all of nature too, which supported the reconnection of the trees and the plants. It supported a remembrance that got returned to many living beings. Like there are certain birds that really started sounding the way they were meant to sound. New species started being birthed on this planet. Old species, ancient species that we thought were extinct, resurrected. So there are many, many, many amazing, surprising surprises, some that have been discovered and some that are yet to be discovered, that actually got invoked, and activated during 2020. Now, as this was happening all around us, and we were in this cocoon, having to, go back into ourselves through a lockdown, through a shutdown, and then to maintain our distance. Those of you who've known me for many years have heard me say, that I'm not allowed any energy exchange, like touching and all of that is like really not something that that my intuition guides me to as I'm going through my own spiritual evolution. And, I think it was all about becoming aware of our own space, being aware of our own worthiness. 2020 enabled that to occur. So my invitation to all of you would be to really look at what became you as a result of your unique experience of 2020. And anchor yourself in that. Just because 2020 as a year and as perceived by some of the negative connotations that have been placed on it, the reality is, even when I talk to people who said that was the worst year of my life, and I ask them, really, share with me how. They begin with some of the worst experiences. Oh, and I say, oh, okay, so what happened as a result of that? And it takes no time at all. Within a couple of minutes, they're talking about all these amazing things that opened up as a result of that worst experience for them. So as each one of you goes out and has your own interaction, goes out online in cyberspace, over the phone, I know that many of you are in tier 4 and heading to tier 5 lockdowns, so it'll mostly be online. And if you hear this stuff, this type of conversation, support people to have them see, there is no point in arguing with them because they have a perception that is so real to them. It's very useful for them to share that, and all you can do is facilitate them to see beyond it by asking, well, what opened up as a result? Without you stepping into the fixing mode. So there's one thing that we have all learned, all of us, whether we are spiritual or not, that this thing, many people tried fixing it in a whole variety of ways. It isn't something that is to be fixed. There are certain protocols, and there are new protocols. We also had the amazing advent of the 10 commandments for the new world that landed and got anchored. We also had the birth of the new industry, the third industry silo, which is the relationship industry. that got birthed. Another very powerful thing that happened as a result of each of the elements, showing up in their full might, is that the power of these elements has been completely entrenched in the trees, in the tree ecosystem, trees and plants, and through them you have seeds and flowers. I mean, it's phenomenal. So as a result, there is a vibe of oneness, because trees are connected to one another across the world. Even where you have built buildings, the connection continues through either myceliums or through the air or through the water systems that continue deep down under the soil, which also continue to connect the trees. So trees around the world are connected, and they are now infused with the energy of all of these elements. Water is what got purified, which is why the air quality shifted. The air quality is the air quality. It has a way. It blows things away to get complete clarity. What damages the air quality and causes the pollution and all of that are the water particles. That's what I see. I'm not a scientist here. I'm just sharing what I see energetically. It's the water that got purified. The water got purified not just by us not throwing more pollutants in the water, but it got purified primarily by the shift in attitude of humans. There was a lightness that came about, the heaviness that was carried, the emotional heaviness that was making water susceptible to holding on to various pollutants. Everything can, resurrect and restore itself. It is designed in that way, including every cell of our human body. We don't relate to it as a cell by cell structure. We look at it as a mass, and it becomes a big problem. So with all of these elements anchored and having a stretch of time to work in the reclaiming process, we now have an ongoing wonderful blanket of okayness vibe from nature that we are all wrapped in. And it's a warm blanket, or it's a cooling one, depending on whatever you feel the temperature is. It recalibrates to each one's body. The other thing that got anchored. I mean, I'm excited about the anchoring part. You've heard me say we are born with three things. We are born with choice, we are born with dignity, and we are born with our own unique mastery. We are always choosing, even if we choose to make no choice. Or we choose to give our power away to something else. We are always choosing. So humans completely got anchored in a knowing that they are the ones that are making the choice. Even though initially it was like, oh, it's Corona thing, it's done this, it's done that. Well, so what? I'm very aware. I've lived through this lockdown period in India, so I'm very aware of the hardships. I was in the midst of it for much of the time. So I totally honor and respect those that went through the hardship and still emerged on the other side. But there's a recognition, and I have communicated with people from all strata of society. That was the joy of spending this time in India, where there was a recalibration of choice. There was a sharing that started occurring. that wasn't occurring before. People started noticing the goodness in each other after having gone through the trauma drama of having to be confined in the same place for an extended period of time. But people literally started acknowledging each other. It began with finally choosing to, okay, we're going to make the best of it. The government can't solve it. We have to do this for ourselves. Our religious, our spiritual leaders or religious leaders aren't available to guide us. We are to be our guide. We are to make these choices. The second part, which is of dignity. Dignity is the honoring of our own worthiness. 2020, again, there are several of you here who've heard me talk about dignity and the World Dignity Forum that we seeded as a movement in 2019. Dignity is the honoring of our own worthiness. It is something that we are born with. Nobody can take it away. Nobody can diminish it. It doesn't go away. We just forget it. This extended period of time got each one, every human, to reconnect to that they are worth it. Even if it began with a survival instinct, it actually morphed into a thriving, collaborative co-creation of coexistence. What a sweet way of preparing us for the 10 Commandments. So remembrance has been unlocked. And yes, all of this that took so many centuries to be depleted and corroded away got brought back in 1 year. It did feel intense. Yes, but we did it. And each one of you who's been a part of this journey over this last 12 months, I acknowledge you. I really respect you for showing up and playing your part, because every time your vibration uplifted, every person that you have ever connected with, consciously or even subconsciously, received the gift of up-leveling their vibe. So we have touched many others, and there were many other people like me playing this part as well. How many amazing teachers who just only operated from their own confines. And for me, I was traveling the world doing physical live gatherings in small groups, realized that was just not going to happen. And I started doing this online, and with Suzanne's help, we made this body of work available far and wide. There were so many other teachers that emerged, amazing sounds, amazing words, wisdom that was being shared by so many amazing masters. And people started, as they started implementing even a sliver of what was being shared and learned, what was happening was so much of powerful wisdom was now being etched into the planet. You heard me say that so much stuff that has been talked about, thought about, in terms of money and in terms of command and control, is etched on, in the planet like energy signatures. There was a flood of us coming out and sharing, these powerful, uplifting wisdom and messages. And that was being etched on the planet. We could have easily gone into a humongous conflict of us and them. The divine came in and chose to unify and unified in such a way that there was no room for any debate. It was like, shut up. Shut up about conflict stuff. Just share that. That's going to be uplifting. Because people were experiencing what they were experiencing. So yes, there were some that went through intense experiences in terms of physical hunger, in terms of mental anguish, as many industry sectors that were only rooted in, in command and control disappeared. And new ones emerged. And the ones that have continued are going to adapt themselves to the relationship industry, or they too will not survive for that long. All of that played out in 2020. It's totally magical for me to talk to people, skeptics, cynics, as well as those that can completely recognize the miracles that they have experienced. And each person, I'm like looking at, I must have talked to about 280 people so far, and I'm seeing on average about 20, 24 very, very clear examples of miracles that they are citing that have occurred, stuff that they could never have imagined was possible for them became available. It happened. Here's something else. Just like those of us who do yoga, and there are so many of us here who do, in yoga, when you learn a posture, you work on getting a muscle memory of the right posture. So there have been moments during this 2020, even if it has been up and down, there have been moments pretty much in every human's life. And this is me seeing and sharing it. I don't have any statistical evidence, but when I see and connect across the world with humans, every human, even those that have crossed over, there has been a moment of them connecting to their light. It may be a fleeting one, or it may be a long-standing one. So a muscle memory that it is possible, God created and anchored. What set of stories for us to share with our grandkids of what happened at this time? So my invitation to each one of you is 2020 laid the foundation for the new world. So your foundation shifted. Each one of us, our foundation shifted. And there is some stuff that you will recognize, even if you may not be consciously aware of right now. I invite you to take it on and work with it. Identify what that is. There is stuff that is just not there anymore in your foundation, and there's new stuff that is there. So what became you in 2020? Connect with that. Because 2021 is a very different year. In 2020, I talked about that the energies were so rapid that it was so much easier for you to really transform, transmutate, expand to the level, to heights that you could never have imagined if you came into it as a baggage-free flight, because it was a baggage-free flight. 2021, there is no flight. Done. You've done the flying. You've landed. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. There's something else that I talked about in 2020. I said that there were very specific vantage point dates that I was given, and I shared them as we went along. And the power of the vantage point dates was you decided what your intention is, and you did what was needed to get to that intention by a particular vantage point. And you would be catapulted to a new vantage point, and from that you would see a new vista for your life, or for your business, or for your career, whatever it might be. And there were several such vantage point dates. because the energies of 2020 were, all of these elements working together to pull you up, push you down, all that stuff was going on. There were these vantage point dates. I also talked about, it's very different in 2021. In 2020, I talked about that it wasn't a portal that was opening up for souls to depart. It was actually as if a big playing field had opened up. And that playing field was opened up to make it easier for souls that wanted to depart, to depart. So I did talk about this very earlier on in 2020, in fact, even in 2019, that there will be many souls, surprising number of them, and some surprising ones that will depart because they're choosing to complete their journey. Some wish to return, some wish to work from the other side to support the emergence of this planet into a planet where heaven and earth coexist. They are one. We saw that happening. That playing field is closed now. 2021, it's quite different. We don't have that playing field anymore for souls to depart. So there is a different agenda that the divine has for 2021. So 2021. 2021 is the year where the energy is about flowing. It's flowing in flow. So 2020 brought nature into its flow. It brought all the 4 elements that are very present on the planet in flow. And as a result of both of these, there were many other living beings started getting into their flow. So they will be flowing in flow. So flowing is a current. That applied to something that is already in flow will enable that which is in flow to move forward with ease, joy, and grace to fulfilling the intention that it is set out to achieve. What does that mean for us as humans? So what it means for us as humans, if each one of us, and that's why I'm saying to you, take the time and, it won't take you that long. Who have you become as a result of 2020? And you recognize that. Which aspect of that recognition has you feel that yummy feeling? That's you in your flow. So if you can get your finger on that pulse of you being in flow, and we are doing the 108 pearls of wisdom that support you with that. So you get that finger on the pulse of you being in flow, you will be able to flow with the flowing current of 2021. Now, just visualize something that is rigid, a rigid structure that is placed in a river that is flowing. And that rigid structure is there. The river flows, and the river is going to flow. It flows past that structure. And even where the structure is, it keeps lashing against it, lashing against it, lashing against it. It could corrode it, and it could slowly, slowly corrode it until the structure then, collapses and flows by itself, or it could even destroy it. So whilst it is a very soft, gentle experience, if you are in your flow, it is an experience that is moving forward. So it is just as rapid as 2020, except it's a flowing current. And it is moving forward. So as long as you are in your flow, And in your flow, you take a moment to declare your intentions, and you can do whatever it is that you need to in terms of systems and structures that enable you to remain in flow. You're still flowing, and it will carry you and carry you moving forward. So whether you hold a baggage or not, that's gone. That's gone. Baggage will be corroded away. Or baggage will be just taken away from you. Holding on to or being attached to a how. You already heard me say that when I talked about the 10 Commandments, take nothing for granted is a modus operandi. That is the modus operandi. As long as you get all of the 10 Commandments and you remain anchored in that understanding of those 10 Commandments, and you have your finger on the pulse of what it feels like you being in flow, you will flow with the current of 2021. That is the energy of 2021. Now, there are particular moments, just like we had the vantage points, dates in 2020, in 2021, it's different. What we have are stretches of time, stretches of periods of time where a slipstream current is going to come in. And I've been given the first one, which is the 5th of March, and that will continue from the 5th of March to the 13th of March. And that's the first slipstream of 2021. Now, what does a slipstream current do? Something, and really, how do you work with the slipstream? You find yourself in a slipstream. What do? Trust. You do trust. You allow yourself to literally go with the slipstream, because when you go with the slipstream, you actually will land somewhere magical. It doesn't drown you. It only drowns you when you fight against it or you try and swim against it. It is strong and it can actually drown you or cause a lot of pain and havoc. So, how do you work with that when you know there's a slipstream current coming? It causes you to be very vigilant. And it causes you to be very intentional. It causes you to bring certainty by getting clear on what it is that you are resolved about. So remain anchored and stationed in resolve. I am resolved that expecting and accepting miracles are the norm for humans and humanity. And my business partner, Gaurav, he's resolved that humans and humanity are stationed in whole and complete. And together in what we are bringing out into the world, we are resolved about humans and humanity stationed in whole and complete, expecting and accepting miracles as the norm. That's our resolve. Now that gives us certainty. Things can go all over the place around us. We do not budge from there. Now, once we are resolved about that, we know we are in flow. We don't have to get attached and rigid about the house. Being resolved calls you to be malleable and flexible. So you will use the time between now and the 5th of March to discover what it is that you are resolved about. And it doesn't have to be something massively grandiose. It could be something that you're resolved about this year. It's fine. You will uncover it. The key thing, if there was one thing I would say, get to know what it feels like you being in your flow and keep your finger on that pulse of flow. Because that will enable the flowing to occur. In terms of, are there portals that are going to be created for souls to depart? We will go into we will have that happening from time to time throughout this year. It will not feel as intense as it has felt over the last 6 years. We will have we will have over the next 2 years, we will still see many souls choosing to depart, but it really will feel, even to the ones that are the closest to them, they will experience an ease and joy and grace with which it will occur. One of the things that enables flow to be anchored is a celebration vibe. So in any moment, regardless of whatever is happening, find what there is that you can celebrate. Even if someone really dear to you crosses over, find what there is to celebrate in the life and the difference that this person made when they were alive. Doesn't mean you cover up the sadness you feel. You acknowledge the sadness you feel. Acknowledge the fullness of your feelings. It's about honoring all facets of you, everything that you're experiencing. The other message that some of you received in my New Year message, which again is an access to the experience of allowing, which is trying. Stop trying. Just don't try to do anything. It's so trying. Just don't. Get resolved, get on with it, and allow. Allow an unfolding to occur. And it feels like, what does that mean? How do I know? Allow yourself to foray into the unknown, into the not knowing, and see what emerges. I mean, you knew everything. We knew everything. And look, in 1 year, what happened in the entire world? Just as we thought everything was coming together and it was all fine, we've had a huge resurgence. UK has gone into tier 4 all over the UK. So take nothing for granted. Uncertainty is certain. Unknown is the known. So in that realm, what's there to try? Stop trying, start allowing. We will be called to do. This also is a doing year. And what enables a flow to happen much more easily is being. So if you haven't already read the Be book, get it from Amazon. It's also available as an audiobook. Create your own Be plan, create your own Be list so that you can choose what you're going to be today and allow the doing to flow. Keeping your finger on the pulse, checking in from time to time that you are being what you have chosen for that day. You will all create your own practices. There is much to assimilate in what I have said. My communication is always cellular, and now some aspects of my communications are also nanocellular. So even if some of it is not fully understood by you, it's okay. It has been received and it will surface at the right time as you start implementing layer by layer of whatever it is that you have assimilated from what I have shared. With that, I would like to complete today's session and will be very grateful for you to share your word in the chat. And if we don't already have you, on an email or on a phone that I can add to the WhatsApp group, just put that in the chat and we will take it from there. But do share in the chat your word that completes the session for you today. And welcome, a very big hearty welcome to the year of Flowing in Flow, 2021. God, it's moving quite fast. Enriching, nourishing wealth. Yes. Partying vibe. Yes. Magnificence. Anticipating yumminess. Indeed. Thank you very much. Profound session. Thank you. In flow. New enlightenment and grace. Yes, indeed, Kathleen. Inspired clarity, beautiful. Confirmation and knowing, indeed. This is so important to all of humans. Thank you for sharing, Mynoo. We will share the link to you once Suzanne has managed to convert this. Please go ahead and share widely. You can even upload that link onto your Facebooks if that's what you would like to do. Rebirth, emergence, indeed. Grateful to you. Thank you. I receive joyful, exuberance, clarity, resolve, so powerful, new clarity towards the new year, new enlightenment, expansive, exquisite, flowing love, feel ready. Yes, be, indeed, Joanne. Celebrating my dignity and joy. Celebrate it with joy and enjoy. Certain, wonderful, whole and complete, flowing with light. Indeed, beautiful celebration of life in all aspects, celebrating being in flow. Thanks a zillion. Yes, thank you. I receive, Rakesh. Great to have the Spanish energy here too. I can feel my cells buzzing. Love it. They are indeed rebirth. Strength and spirit. Got it, Lindsay. Got your number 2. That's great. Namaste, Mynoo. Thank you, Linda. Grateful for all the inspirational wisdom, new beginnings, and recreation. Thank you. Indeed. Looking forward to an amazing flowing in flow in 2021. So happy to be guided by you and have you, Asha. Thank you, Asha ji. Great overview of our 2020 flowing into 2021 with grace. Indeed, total 360-degree understanding with awesomeness and strength. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. The becoming of evolutionary coherence. Wow, Janice, this is great. You helped me with some of our taglines for the World Dignity Forum, and it's just playing out like we talked about at the time. New beginnings, new dreams. My understanding is deepening. Amazing overview. So helpful. Thank you. Comfort and joy. New steps possible. Please add me to the email. Got it, Joanne. Excited to share the goodness in our work. Yes, indeed, David. This is your time. Like I said, unconditional love. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Thank you. Exciting. From Vibha, exciting 2021. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I've got your emails. We will capture these. Thank you so much. Deep appreciation for all of you for being here and, giving me the privilege to share all this. I'm going to use the next few Beyond Meditation sessions to go deeper and deeper into the next layers of 2021. So thank you all. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.